AstdX just released like a day and a bit ago, something like that. And there's a few things I want to discuss regarding, well, what I was talking about in my previous video and how, what expectations and maybe concerns I have of the game. And so far I'll give, well, my opinions and my feedback to the game. And honestly, I've got mixed feelings in certain aspects. But overall, I'll just tell you now, I think the game has potential. It truly has potential, in my opinion at least. I believe it's really, I mean, well, it's subjective. You can't objectively look at it and say the game sucks or the game is amazing. It just depends how you look at it and what you like and whatever. But anyways, I'll start by addressing one thing which I think is quite important. The game actually got released on time. Yeah, the date they gave was the actual date at the exact hour. So that's a really big plus, you know. Yeah, AstdX got delayed and it got delayed a few times so far. It was supposed to release in winter, then whatever. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it ever got a fixated release date. Like they didn't say 24th of February or something like that, and they didn't release that day. They just said like um, the season or something like that, or maybe the month, and it got delayed. I don't think they actually specified the date, and the first time they did, they actually delivered it. So it still got delayed, but at least not this time, and that's quite something for STD especially. About updates, we'll have to see. As I said before, well, I believe if they can maintain a schedule of like 2-3 weeks for an update with plenty of content, I think that's just going to be amazing and it's going to keep people engaged. And if they can listen to the community as well. But the next subject I'm going to be going over is the amount of content they had on release, which absolutely flabbergasted me. Like genuinely, it's a lot of content. Like you cannot compare this to any release, like any other enemy tower defense on release. I compare it to Vanguards, which I have nothing against. I like Vanguards. I play Vanguards a lot. ALS not so much, but like compared to, I know the stuff, the things with ALS are really different since Boss Studio took over and stuff like that. But anyways, compare it with any newly released enemy tower defense game, and it's like 4 times the content or something. First of all, they have like 60 units, and yeah, you might say, well, the 3 stars, 4 stars, you know, you're not gonna use them as much and stuff. But no, actually, you can pretty much use 3 stars and 4 stars for well, quite a bit of time. Like I think I got to the third story, and I think you can maybe clear them like with only 3 stars and 4 stars on easy mode. I'm pretty sure you can, and it's like they're pretty useful, you know. They don't suck, and actually they're way cheaper than 5 stars, you know. Even 3 stars are way cheaper than 4 stars. They can do a pretty good job. So you know, I think it's really balanced, and I enjoyed using 3 stars and 4 stars, the like the equivalent of rare and epic units and maybe legendary units, rather than going for the mythics, aka the 5 stars, because it just has that feeling, you know, when you're like poor and you don't have units, but at the same time it's fun because you feel like you enjoy playing with the units you have, even though they aren't the best. So yeah, a lot of content unit wise, but not only unit wise. They also have a lot of content like mechanics wise. Quality of life is amazing. They have a lot of quality of life in my opinion. They also have the auto upgrade, which a lot of people said that was part of the downfall of Anime Reborn, but well, if we'll see how AstdX will be going. But yeah, I think AstdX is the kind of game which can clearly last even with something like auto upgrade. Even though it's not quite Animal Last Stand territory, but it's still can do with auto upgrade. So a lot of quality of life, you know, a lot of actual things to do. Because you know, to say I felt overwhelmed is not. I didn't actually feel overwhelmed. You know, I was trying to use a basic to try to understand the game at its base, you know, at its core, to see how it works. I basically got the idea that yeah, you get stuff, challenges, Evo, uh, the nightmare stories, extreme mode stories, and stuff like that. Anyways, besides that, uh, it wasn't so hard to get accustomed to, in my opinion, especially because I kind of still felt like it had that ASTD essence in it, a little bit, because yeah, they went with the ascensions thing, so they don't outright make evolutions for the units, which I like because evolutions should be kept as new forms and not like a few extra skills. And I think ascending is a pretty decent thing, because at the same time, you wouldn't quite want to just get like a 5-star unit and not have to do anything for it and have its full potential unlocked, and it'd be like, yeah, it doesn't feel quite as rewarding as actually working to make that unit better. Anyways, yeah, the content, a lot of stuff, even dungeons, which I just realized like a few hours ago that they are a thing, and I'm not sure how they work, if they're anything special or just like another normal anime tower defense game mode, like a story or something like that, but just a bit longer, or like an infinite or whatever. But they have that too, so extra content, extra things to grind for. They also have PvP on release, which I think is pretty alright. It feels a bit more balanced than Vanguard's, I'd say, because it's got like a unit pool, which you both have, but it depends on the units you've summoned, so it's not totally random. Yeah, anyways, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. The rewards feel pretty damn good for PvP too, and I might go for like a higher rank to push for some rewards and some seasonal rewards. Anyways, that's besides the point. What's next? Well, yeah, I'll get into some things I didn't like now, because I think I've said plenty about what I like, even though maybe some more ideas will come up to mind and I'll mention them. But for what I don't like, traits and stats, well, who could have figured that I don't like them? Well, I think there's barely any people who genuinely like them. Like, maybe you like them at first, but after a while it gets like, oh my fucking god, rolling for traits again, rolling for stats again, it's so fun. Yeah, and I did feel like it lost a bit of the ASTD essence, the fact that we have traits and stats, but at least they did the traitless and statless game mode, so that's something too. But then again, yeah, it's still a core mechanic. You can do just fine without it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can do anything in the game without it, but still, it's always nicer to have a trait, and it will make your life easier. But there's nothing we can do about that. We just have to get accustomed to traits, because they ain't removing them, as they said prior, even if people don't like them. At least one thing I have to mention is their odds are actually better than most anime tower defense games. Like, are decent, like 0.2 for the unique / monarch trait, which is called All-Star. It's way better than than 0.1. It's 2 times the chance, and the others, which are like 0.8 and above. So that's really good as well. Also, another thing which I found people complaining, and I saw no reason in it to complain, like the monetization. A lot of people call this game like a cash grab or something, like, which, yeah, they did have a lot of limited things, which like only 8k, only whatever, and yeah, that might seem really like, bad at first, and it just gives you the wrong impression. But then when you look at it again, it's like those are just purely cosmetics, which might have trading value in the future. So like, why give a shit about them? It generally gives you no advantage. As I like to think of it, it's like bundles from AV, for example, and Animal Last Stand, but without too many benefits and just cosmetics. Yeah, I have nothing against that kind of monetization, in my opinion. While I do think saying that, yeah, it's really limited and it's going to have a lot of trading value is kind of yeah, like they want you to buy it and they're kind of forcing it down your throat when they're saying that. But again, I don't think it's that bad overall. And the traits are much cheaper than in Anime Vanguards, you know what? I'm going to Anime Vanguard because that's the example. They are much cheaper than in Vanguards, because I think there's like 3,200 Robux for 180 traits, and in Vanguards is like for 100 it's 8k Robux. So it's quite a substantial difference. Also taking keeping in mind the fact that that odds are way better than there. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like traits, I don't like stats, but their prices and odds are much better. And another thing, I personally do not think this game is a cash grab and they're going to abandon it or something, or at least I hope. You know what, I'm speaking with maybe a bit too much of confidence here, but I personally do not think they will abandon it or like just do something really fucked up. And I don't think it was a scam, because first of all, it's STD, you know, it's a big title, but we cannot just go based off of that, because as we all know what happened with Anime Adventures. But the thing is, they delayed the game, you know, and I do think they delayed it for good reasons. Like they wanted people to think more highly of the game, so they could add more features and stuff like that. So I don't think the delays were in vain, and I don't think they would have delayed it if this was a cash grab. They genuinely wouldn't have, in my opinion, at least. Because like there's no reason to have this many features on release if you're just going to throw away the game. If it was a real cash grab, in my opinion at least, they would have just had like the stories, challenges, and something like that, you know, and barely any quality of life of something. And yeah, then it would have been a cash grab. But now I do think it's got potential, and I think people who are calling it a cash grab this early are a bit overreacting, in my opinion. But then again, everybody is free to have their own opinions. We are not hating here. I'm just expressing myself. And yeah, anyways, another thing which I don't like, well, not don't, I not don't, what the fuck? I am not saying I necessarily hate it, but I think I have quite mixed feelings on it. You know, the UI. Yeah, a lot of people say it's a bit old, or it's a bit like too. Yeah, it reminds me of a cash grab game. Some people. It reminds me a bit of that too. Maybe they could do some improvements for the UI, but I personally don't think it's quite as big of a problem, in my opinion. Like, I can do just fine with it, but if they could improve on it, that's great, because it means they're listening to community feedback and stuff like that. So yeah, this is pretty much my feedback. I personally got to enjoy the game. Like, I think I'm like level 25. I've got my story done. I've done a lot. Not nearly all of the content. You know, I did a whole lot of things, but I still have content, because there's a lot of units. There's still things I have to do. I can grind and stuff like that. And if they can keep a decent update schedule, well, I might just get overwhelmed by how much I have to grind for. But about that, we'll see in the future. Anyways, that's about it for what I had to discuss in this video. Maybe if I remember that I had to add something, I'll just record another part and add it onto the video. But for now, I think this is it. You know, I personally enjoy the game. I hope you did too. If you didn't, well, that's just fine having opinions, as long as you can keep it respectful and all that. Yeah, well, thank you for watching, thank you for listening to this video, and see you. Have a really nice day.